Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are taking a look at a brand called Cyclowax, which is a hot wax application system. So we're going to be going over the price, the details, the specs, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on just the whole entire hot wax idea and application. And I will tell you right now that yeah, I think your boy Patty is going to be a hot wax convert. So without further ado, let's begin.
First and foremost, a huge thank you to Cyclowax for sending out their clean chain starter kit. I've always been curious of trying out this hot wax chain cleaning, waxing method, but I've always been just kind of lazy to do it because I know, you had to buy a crock pot, you had to buy some of the tools and kind of faffing around. And I know I just didn't want to do that. I'm pretty much a pragmatic person where I just want to be able to quickly do what I have to do as far as lubing my chain and maintaining my bike. And I figured it would just be a lot of extra work. But the good news is with this clean chain starter kit, which does retail for $269 USD. Yes, it's not exactly cheap, but it supplies everything you're going to need, literally everything you're going to need to hot wax your chain. Basically set it up so that you can just set it and forget it, and it'll be significantly easier when it comes to maintaining your chain. So with this kit includes first, obviously it includes the hockey puck wax itself, the black wax. It comes with all of the different cleaning solutions, towels, gloves, brushes, all these things that you can prep your drivetrain for the wax. And with that price also includes a pre-wax chain as well, which is a nice touch considering how much chains could potentially cost these days. And you have your choice of 10 speed, 11 speed, 12 speed, SRAM or Shimano chain, which is really nice touch. And I think the most important aspect of this whole entire clean chain starter kit is the fact that it actually comes with its own warming mechanism to perfectly heat up the chain with the wax to the ideal temperature. Now, one of the things that I was apprehensive about doing this hot wax ordeal to begin with is because I would either have to go out to the store or on the secondhand market and buy basically one of those not pressure cookers, what are they called, crock pots, and I just didn't want to do that. Plus, you have to wait a long time to basically heat up the crock pot to get to the ideal temperature. So with this kit, it comes with the hot cooker, or whatever you want to call it, the actual machine. And so with the hot wax machine, it's going to basically warm up the wax to the perfect temperature, so you never have to worry about that. So literally, it's going to be everything you're going to need to get your bike up and going. So why are so many cyclists making the move to hot wax? Well, it's simple. Using hot wax versus using some sort of oil-based or even something like a squirt, like a wax drip-based wax. The problem with these kind of lubes is no matter how high quality the lube is, it's going to attract dirt. Now, I'm a huge fan of squirt wax. Basically, what I would do with the squirt wax is I would pop it in the microwave for like maybe 10 seconds and then apply it. And it does work well as far as, offering low friction, but it still does, in fact, attract dirt. So by going with a completely clean hot wax based system, you're going to get all of that hot wax in between the rollers, which is what you want, which is effectively offers a very low amount of friction. And the hot wax also does not attract dirt the way that oil does or like a squirt lube does. So by having a chain that has low friction, it does not attract dirt. That means every single time you apply the hot wax moving forward, you don't have to worry about all the extra contaminants once you fully submerge the chain into the hot wax. Now, at this point, having spoke to several different cyclists with a variety of disciplines, there's people using it, of course, on the road, gravel, TT, and I even know folks who are using it on their mountain bikes. So this hot wax treatment is good for all different disciplines of cycling. Now, as I mentioned, this kit for the $269 USD, it does include a pre-wax chain. However, I didn't want to have to wait 300 kilometers to reapply the hot wax to that pre-wax chain. So basically what I did was I took one of my own chains and I gave it a deep clean. Now, Cyclowax, they do not recommend that you do this method, but I wanted to just go through the whole entire process for you guys, just so you can see what it's like. So basically the chain that I have, I was using it with squirt lube. So I had to give it a super duper deep clean using some eco-friendly cleaner, had to use some isopropyl alcohol, all these things to get it squeaky clean in order to set it up for the hot wax submersion. Now, the actual process of using hot wax application to your chain, it's very, very easy once your whole entire drivetrain is clean, from the cassette to the chain rings, everything. Once everything is really clean, they make it insanely easy to set up. In fact, they even give you instructions on how to do the whole entire process, and you don't have to mess around with any specific temperature gauge. Basically, you just turn on the hot wax machine and it's going to heat up in about 10 minutes to the perfect temperature for the hot wax. So basically, the process is, once everything is clean, is you add the wire into the chain, kind of snake it around. And then while you're doing all that, this is when you would heat up the hot wax tablet into the machine. It's really easy. You literally just turn the knob onto the machine, and in about 10 minutes or so, it's going to warm up the hot wax. And at that point, once it's ready to go and it's fully melted, you then go ahead and dip the chain into the hot wax. It only takes about a minute. You basically are only swishing around that chain for only a minute. And the idea is to basically, you want to remove all the bubbles, so that once the bubbles are removed within the rollers, those bubbles are then going to be replaced with the hot wax. And this is where the magic happens. A lot of the friction, from what I understand, is in the rollers part of the chain. So once that has a buildup of hot wax, after a minute, you then can hang the chain with the wire on the supplied sort of chain hanger as well. And you're basically just going to let that cool down for, 20-30 minutes, however long you need. And then at that point, the process is basically it at that point. So once the chain is fully cooled down, it is going to be a little bit difficult to basically loosen up that chain, but you basically want to go from each link to each link to break that chain down so that you'll be able to reapply it to your bike. And once you have it on your bike, obviously you give it a couple revolutions with the crank arms. You will lose a little bit of wax and debris, depending on where you are setting up the bike. But that's basically it. Once the hot wax is done and it's on your bike, you're ready to go out and ride. And then at that point, you just follow the directions on Cyclowax website as far as when to apply the hot wax next time. But that's basically it. It's not going to attract dirt, according to the website. And yeah, you just go out there and ride. And then when it's time, you reapply the chain.
Hey y'all, today is like February 22nd and it is freaking 60 degrees here in Chicago. We haven't had snow in months and it's been crazy warm all winter. 60 degrees. When I tell a trick, please back up off these NUTs because you get none of, I'm sorry. Anyway, before we talk about this whole hot chain wax process, let's do a quick bike check on my Specialized LA Sprint. Now I know I've talked about in the past about selling this frame, but I think I changed my mind and I'm going to explain why. So first and foremost, before we get to the chain, let's talk about some of the components that I basically have been testing out because I do have my first road race coming up in about a month. It's beginning of April and it's my annual rough road race. It's 100 kilometers long. It's a mix of paved roads as well as some loose gravel as well. So I want to have everything dialed in for this race. So the most important thing I want to talk about first with this setup is these wheels. So these are my Yishan wheels. I've talked about these before in the past, but they are 30 millimeters external, 23 internal, and because of that I'm running Continental GP5000 tubeless tires in the 32C variant. These plump up to exactly 32 millimeters, and I'm running with this setup I'm running about 65 psi in the rear and about 63 psi in the front. So that's the first thing I changed with this bike setup because I want to have everything optimized for that race. And apparently, as it turns out, there has been a lot of data now to suggest that wider tires are actually faster, even if it doesn't feel like it. So this might actually be an optimal setup just for all type of riding, not just for loose gravel, because 32C tires might just actually be faster. The second thing I'm testing out is shorter crank arms. So these are actually 170 millimeters instead of my typical 172.5. So far I can't really feel the difference, to be honest with you. Maybe my cadence needs to be a little bit higher. Maybe my sprint might suffer a little bit, but I mean, I'm not really a big watt sprinter myself. I mean, the most I can do is probably like 1200, 1250 watts for my weight. But so far I haven't been able to tell the difference. And then the third thing I'm also testing out is a shout out to iGPS Sport for sending me out this BSC 300 bike computer. It's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like 160 bucks, 170 bucks, I don't know. Full color display, small form factor, and I think this would compete with something like the Wahoo Bolt. Of course, we got my 140 millimeter -12 length stem, crazy. Also, we got the Prime bike components, carbon aero handlebars. I really like that. But this bike is just so locked in. It's so dialed in the way I have the bike fit that it would be really difficult for me to part with this bike. And the other reason why I think I'm going to keep this bike is because I'm hoping to get some traveling in this upcoming season where I'm able to fly out of state with my bike. And I have this huge paranoia that something's going to happen with my carbon bike should I travel with it, like the airplane, or excuse me, the airline is going to crack the seat stays or something like that. So I figure, even though this bike is not the lightest bike on earth, to me, I'm thinking having an aluminum frame set for your travel bike is probably a good idea. And if I wanted to shave some weight, I can always go with some lighter wheels, things like that. But for the value and for just how this bike is set up, and to be able to travel with it without worrying about, you know, cracking any parts of the frame because it's alloy, I think that it's a really good idea to go ahead and just keep this frame set. Oh, another thing I want to mention too is there's a company, they're based out of, I believe it's Australia, but they make 3D printed radar light mounts for your seat posts. I bought 3 of them. I bought one for this frame, I bought one for my giant Propel, and I bought one for my Tavello Attack frame set. And not the cheapest thing in the world. I think it's like 30 bucks for these seat mount, but what's cool is because you don't have to faff around with trying to figure out, you know, a secure way to mount your radar light. So yeah, I'll link them in the description, or I'll put their website somewhere in this video, but I really like it a lot. It keeps everything secure, nice and neat, and it just looks OEM in my opinion. Okay, so at this point, I've done about, I don't know how many miles on here. I've done about 60, 70 miles with the hot wax chain. Let's see, let's check it out. Yeah, I mean, other than a little bit, I mean, grime, I mean, yeah, it's definitely cleaner than using my Squirt drip wax lube instead of the hot wax treatment. So yeah, honestly, you know, in my opinion, doing the hot wax setup is more about maintenance and keeping things clean than it is about saving watts. So from my perspective, does doing the hot wax method, does it save watts? Probably, but I doubt it. Does it make the overall drivetrain and the pedaling sensation smoother? Absolutely. It definitely feels smoother with each pedal stroke. Now keep in mind that is part of a larger system because I'm using ceramic bearings for my bottom bracket. We have ceramic bearings in my Look Keel blade carbon pedals as well. So as an entire system, adding the hot wax chain to the system, it definitely does make the overall ride significantly smoother than using the drip chain. Like I said, I don't have any data to show whether or not I'm actually saving watts, but as far as how I feel, as far as the whole entire pedaling feel, it definitely feels smoother. Only time will tell whether or not the chain will end up being louder than what it is now, because right now it's very silent. It's very smooth. But only time will tell is, you know, as the wax continues to fall off the chain, whether or not the chain will actually get louder. I really do think that Cyclowax, they did a great job with the overall package because despite the price point, they offer everything you're going to need to get a fresh start with the chain. Now they include in the price the chain, the pre-wax chain as well, even though I'm using my own chain because I wanted to demonstrate the whole entire hot wax process. But basically, once you have everything set up the first time, that's basically it. All you have to do is just, you know, wipe down, brush down the cassette, the chain rings, then you wipe off the chain, and then basically just reapply the chain to a new to the hot wax itself. So you do that, run it in there, you know, for a minute or so. Once everything heats up, hang the chain, and that's basically it. So theoretically, your maintenance when it comes to keeping your chain clean should be a little bit easier, a little bit faster than messing with chain lube or drip wax, things like that. So I think I definitely am going to add this to my repertoire. The thing is, I ride my bike like 200 to 250 miles a week, and I believe they say that you know, based on those numbers, that basically means I'm gonna have to use an application of wax probably about once every week to every week and a half. So if you are someone that does do a lot of miles, say you're doing at least 9,000 to 10,000 miles a year or more, most likely then you're gonna have to purchase a lot of the wax to get you through the whole entire season, probably like 8 to 10. So think about the financial implications with that. But the upside of that is you're gonna have a clean drivetrain, it's gonna run nice and smooth, and then it's gonna be significantly less maintenance versus using the drip wax. So that is going to wrap up today's video, guys. Huge shout out and thank you to Cyclowax for sending out their system for me to try. But as always, questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.